I've not only been guilty of believing this, but also perpetuating this belief system to others. And to be honest with you guys, this is a dangerous belief, not in the way where it's dangerous like it will destroy an individual, but it may dissuade an individual who has finally taken their power back and actually looking to do something about their negative thought patterns and their negative emotional patterns, right? Now, I'm not saying that, from the Norman Vincent Peales to the Napoleon Hills or whoever may have taught the positive thinking model, I'm not saying those people were looking to disserve those around them. They weren't looking to destroy anybody. As a matter of fact, a lot of their teachings are very effective and very helpful. However, there are missing components or missing elements in the teachings of positive thinking or just in the framework of positive thinking, right? To tell somebody that, oh, you're thinking negative, all you need to do is to think positive is actually missing a majority of the equation. Now, that being said, let's really get into the truth, right? So, first and foremost, thinking positively is not what's going to transform and shift you into somebody who is actually a positive thinker. As contrary or as backwards as that sounds, it is the truth. It is only, again, one element, and it is the surface level element. What we actually have to look at is the fact that there is something beneath the surface. So positive thinking is actually a result, or it is a symptom per se, of a deeper causation. And that deeper cause is what we call the self-image or identity, the belief systems that we hold about ourselves and about life as a whole. So our beliefs are nothing more than the thoughts that have been repeated within our lives and the emotions that have been connected to those thoughts for a majority of, our young lives and then adult lives. The thoughts and the emotions that have been perpetuated throughout our experience that have calcified or that have basically become the foundation of our personality, of who we see ourselves as. And you might have heard this by this point, but by the age of 7, your subconscious mind is basically formed its opinion on who you are, right? Like what we call your personality is essentially set in place by the age of 7, because from 0 to 7 you're basically all subconscious mind, and you are just soaking in information, you're soaking in data, external, internal, you're picking up sensatory experiences, you're seeing things, you're listening to things, you're feeling things, and you're taking those in and implementing them as a part of your own personality or your personal reality. So once you are, maturing from that age and you get into young adulthood, what happens is we start to internalize those belief systems and we start to perpetuate those belief systems and we carry them forward in life, again, calling those parts of our personality. We see that as our identity, as who we are. And that self-image, the way in which we envision and see ourselves, the way in which we envision and see our lives is, again, that foundational element of our entire experience. Now, depending on what it was that was continuously perpetuated in your household or continuously perpetuated in your environment, that is oftentimes what's going to mold how you see yourself. If you grew up in a household where, your mother was somebody who fed off of guilt, right? She always looked for ways to get guilt out of those around her, and that was the way she got attention, or that was the way that she got her way. You would have unconsciously or subconsciously picked those patterns up and started to initiate them in your own life. You would also start to take on the emotion of guilt, and you would start to become so used to it. You would start to repeat that emotion so many times. You became so familiar with the emotion of guilt that it became a part of your identity. And if we want to talk about just the biology or the physiology, it actually became memorized in the body as a habit. And then that habit turned into an actual addiction, right? Just like a chemical dependency, or somebody can be addicted to some type of drug, you become addicted to the emotions that you feel when you think certain thoughts. Now, I must let this be known, or at least kind of make this plain for you guys. Your thoughts produce your emotions, right? So every time you are having a thought, you will experience an emotion connected to it. Now, the emotion that you experienced is simply based off of the images that you have within your consciousness or within your mind. So if one person hears the word money, they're going to see a frame or an image that's going to produce a thought. And if they grew up in a household where money was scarce and money is evil and all these other limiting beliefs about money, they will have a uncomfortable visceral feeling when thinking about money. Whereas if somebody grew up in a place where there was abundance and there was a mentality of prosperity, etc., that individual will have a positive image of wealth. Therefore, they will have a positive emotional experience. And again, these things are happening automatically because they've become habitual. And the reason why I say that positive thinking by itself is actually not effective is because it's basically trying to layer one layer on top of another, as opposed to eradicating one layer and having that layer be the replacement, right? So you have a foundation and you try to place something on the foundation. No matter what you put on that foundation will stay the same. So if you have a shaky foundation, an unstable foundation, you can put the most stable building on top of it, and that foundation will fall apart, and so will the building. So what we're looking to do is actually create a new foundation for ourselves. And they may sound impossible. It may sound like something that's far reaching or far out there, but it's actually something that is as natural to us as breathing. We are always in this process of, reaffirming or deeply internalizing the belief systems that we have about ourselves. It's just that we have become, again, so used to, so addicted to certain chemicals that when we start to deviate from those old, chemical addictions we have to guilt or to shame or to resentment, to anger, etc. Once we start to deviate from that, we may feel a sense, or we will feel a sense of withdrawal. We'll feel a deep sense of discomfort, right? Dr. Joe Dispenza is one of the greatest teachers when it comes to this space and really breaking this down. So I definitely am going to recommend him if you want to just get real, real deep. And specifically a book called Breaking the Habit of Being You, I believe is what it's called. Yeah, I'm currently listening to that right now, or re-listening to that and getting new gems from it. But as far as my own experience, what I've realized is, the feeling or the emotion is actually the missing quotient, right? It's like not only the missing aspect of the positive thinking doctrine or the positive thinking ideology, but it is the most fundamental, the most important part of positive thinking. If you have a thought without the emotion connected to it, then the emotion is always going to override, because the emotion lives in the body. The thought lives in the brain. The thought lives in the mind. But the emotion lives in the body, and our body is what we live this life from. This is our vehicle. This is what does life in essence, right? This is where storage happens, to where if we're looking to act upon something, there has to be an agreement within the body in order for us to take action and to take consistent action. And what happens in most cases is, when we've been negative for so long, we've been so addicted to those emotions that were maybe programmed into us in youth or later on through later experiences, tiny traumas, as somebody close in my life taught me, is there's big T trauma, small T trauma, like those big events that happen in your life, or the small accumulative ones that most of us don't look like. All of those experiences accumulate, and again, the emotional experiences that we had when those things happened create a memory, and we start to go off of these memories. They become, again, a part of how we see ourselves and how we believe, and we start to try to predict our future based on our past records, right? Based on our past memories, based on our past memory of emotions and thoughts. So what most of us don't recognize before we come into a place of true self-awareness is that we are actually in control of our thoughts. The reason why we feel out of control is because we've been so used to responding to that emotion that we're used to. So the body triggers, it's time to get more guilt, right? It's time to get more shame. And you want to change that. And the body says, no. This is what we do. This is what we've been programmed to do. So we're going to override whatever thinking you want to do right now. And so you're fighting an uphill battle when you simply are trying to change the thoughts, which means we have to not only shift our thinking, but we also have to shift the feeling and the emotion. And this is where unconditional feeling comes in. And what I mean by that is simple. Most of us in life have been taught that in order for us to feel something, to feel good, we have to wait for an experience to happen, right? I have to wait for my healing in order for me to feel good. I have to wait for my relationship in order for me to feel loved. I have to wait for the money to come in order for me to feel abundant. When in truth, it is the emotion that is preceding the event. Like if we realize it in most cases, when we get something that attracts into our lives, is because we had the feeling experience first. We felt the thing. We felt the experience, right? We came to a point where we just knew that we were going to get that job, or we just knew that something was going to work out for us, and we felt abundant, and then all of a sudden the things happened. And that's how the vibrational laws of the universe work, right? The laws of attraction, as we like to call them, is when you have an emotional experience and it's aligned with your thinking, then you are projecting out into your external environment for those same things to attract back to you. And you are also living in alignment or congruence with those very same things. And you can only attract to yourself what you are giving out, or what you are vibrating at, or where you are energetically, right? And your emotions are nothing more than energy in motion. Therefore, when we are shifting our emotions, we're not looking to wait for an event to happen in order for us to experience those emotions. Instead, we create the emotional experience within us, we cultivate the emotional experience within us, and then we see the shift. And again, when you feel, or when you cultivate a feeling of appreciation, your thoughts are automatically going to start triggering appreciative thoughts. You're going to start seeing images in your mind of things that you appreciate or people that you appreciate, right? So again, there has to be a congruence of both your thinking and your feeling. And so you might ask, that's all good, that sounds all fine and dandy, but how the hell do I actually think or feel different? Excuse me. I've been feeling this way my whole life. How do I start to feel different? Glad you asked. First and foremost, it comes down to making a decision that it matters to you more than anything else to feel different, to be different, right? Not other than what you are, but to come back to what you truly are. You have to be absolutely devoted to this. Like, you have to give yourself over to it completely. Not because it's going to be, 24 hours of work, et cetera, et cetera. It's a different kind of work, and it's a different kind of devotion and dedication, right? Some say this is the most difficult work you will do in your life, but it's the most rewarding work you will ever do in your life, because you are transcending the old version of you and becoming who you truly are meant to be. You are becoming everything that you desired. And most of us are trying to go get things in life, when in reality, we become the person who those things attract to. That's how that really works. I become more of something and I attract those things into my physical experience. So that being said, one of the most powerful tools we've been given as humans is our ability to meditate, right? And I'm not talking about your legs folded up, crisscross applesauce, and you have to be doing all kinds of things with your hands. I mean just cutting yourself off from physical stimuli, right? I'm sitting in this chair, I close my eyes, I get comfortable as possible, and I allow myself to stop engaging in my external world and looking to my external world for triggers, looking to my external world for evidences of how I'm supposed to feel, and instead, I am going within. It's something that is as natural to us as breathing, yet most of us, because of where we've grown up or the mentalities of what we, of the societies that we know, they devalue the spiritual. They devalue the unseen, when in reality, that is what is orchestrating everything within our existence. If you just even got down to an atomic level, right? You want to talk science, 99.99999% of an atom is empty space. It is nothingness or the unseen. What do you think is in that space? There is something that is vibrating at a higher frequency that we cannot see or perceive, right? So when you're going within, when you are in that meditative state, in that intentional meditative state, what's happening is you're becoming not only aware that of your thoughts and that you are not your thoughts, but you are actually overcoming those old emotions. Instead of reacting to an old emotion, you're practicing overcoming that old emotion. And it's taking away power from that old emotion. You are literally stripping away power from an emotion every time you do not react or respond to it, when you do not entertain it. At first, you may find yourself, going off on spirals, going off on tangents, but you're becoming more and more aware. The longer you sit there and allow yourself to simply go through that process of meditation, I promise you, as natural as grass grows, you will feel yourself and see yourself start to witness those thoughts simply going by, and there'll be less and less emotional tie to them. And you're actually practicing that. So when you get out of a meditation and you walk through life, you're now more consciously aware and actually overcoming those old emotions. And again, all we're looking to do is to feel a different emotion in response and reaction to our lives. And when we're doing that, we're creating a new habit of feeling and thought and feeling, and that's going to create different outcomes within our actions, within what's attracting to us, within our life circumstances. So again, there is an element of, yes, you have to move in alignment with it, but it becomes so much easier because you're literally practicing a new habit, and in the most powerful way possible. And you'll see that when you're in states of meditation, your body will naturally go into a state of peace once you allow yourself to not be given unto the urges of the body. I need to go eat. I need to do this. This person did that. Remember what happened last week. Remember what happened last year. Once you get past all those and allow yourself just to sit, naturally these things will subside. The only reason they usually don't when we're not in a still state is because we've been so used to reacting to them and so used to acting on them, so used to entertaining them, so used to following them to wherever they want to go, that we actually don't realize that we have a choice to simply be still and make a new decision. And so now when you're in traffic and somebody cuts you off, you're making a new decision. And you can literally see yourself having the feeling response, but realizing you're not the feeling. And this ain't woo-woo. This is biological, which is biology, but it's deeper than that. It is all sciences combined. The neurology, the biology, the physiology, the psychology, all of these are working in tandem. And when you get into even the sciences behind meditation, which I believe are still so primitive, you will find out that there are neural networks that are being rewired as you meditate. You are literally rewiring your brain through meditation. So that being said, I will probably end up doing a version or part 2 of this video, but make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to stay tuned in. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Again, share this with somebody that you love. Click that like button. And make sure to stay tuned in. I will definitely be doing a part 2 to this one.